also to be here, but she's not feeling well, so she unfortunately cannot be here. It's important to rest, so we're gonna give her that time and space, of course. So I asked Brett and Alicia to come and talk about their work with me in the past 10 months in the Intuitive Guide program. And actually, I just realized I'm going to record this, so just give me 1 second. I just totally forgot that part.
Recording in progress.
To talk about their work with me in the Intuitive Guide program that they've done in the past 10 months, which is an intensive program. I call it the Soulful Work Method, and Brett and Alicia and a group of others went through this amazing process of, well, may have felt amazing at some point. Sometimes it didn't feel so amazing, of deconstructing the ego, connecting with their higher selves, opening their intuition, learning how to read the Akashic Records, and of course, learning a bunch of skills about how to hold space for people as intuitive guides, life coaching, guided imagery, working with the inner child, and learning a lot of the practical business tools of how to actually share light with others. So, Brett, thank you so much for being here to talk with me about your experience.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. Good.
So let me ask you, I'm just going to ask you a few questions and then, we can just riff from there. What made you want to do this work for yourself, like do this sort of program in the beginning?
I can certainly say that it's always, well, it's sort of been by mistake most of the time, or just kind of like in little nuggets of just information as I've moved forward in this whole process. But to come to see you and meeting you, I was a huge advocate or huge. I just couldn't ever make a decision.
Hmm.
I never could make it. It was making a decision was just so difficult, and which made me feel like I knew I was completely either detached from myself or just not connected to myself or to or anything or others for that matter. And knowing what was good for me versus what's good for someone else, both are good. One might be best for me, but really like figuring out what works well for myself so I can start feeding and giving others from a well that's deeper.
Yeah.
Um, and that was what it was. I always felt that was, my cup was empty. That's how I always felt. It didn't mean it was that way. And that was what I found out and realized is that um, it wasn't really empty.
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't attending to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Makes sense. So I was just seeking to have an awareness that I now have, and there's more to come. But that's what I was looking for. That's what I was needing. And through friends who have seen you, who have met you and had time with you, recommended to start the process.
Yeah.
So,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Well, I'm so honored to hear that. And Heidi, two people here. Hi, Heidi. Hi, Julie. She said she was having a hard time hearing you. I'm wondering if that is because I'm wearing these and you're not. If I take these out, but sometimes the sound. Let me just actually also do this. Plug my laptop in. The sound sometimes does weird things. So Heidi, is that better? Tell me if that's better. If not, then maybe I'll put my things back in, but maybe that makes a difference. Anyway, so yeah, I think, it takes a lot of courage to do what you did, to say, like, I'm going to sign up for this thing and go through this process of really, digging into these innermost beliefs and thoughts and your inner self. You're kind of digging in there. And for a lot of people, that's very scary to do. And as you know, in this program, what we do is we do our own work ourselves. We experience it. So you have sessions with me, and then you go back out into practicing, to doing this with others as you experience it yourself. So that, and I just want to say how much courage it takes to do that, because there's not only, you know, you not only, and starting a business is a big deal, by the way. It's a very big deal to not only say yes to doing the inner work. That's one big step, but then sharing your gifts with others is another big step, and then actually doing it, is another big step. So you've moved through these big hurdles of overcoming doubt, overcoming fear. How did you feel like you did that? How did you do that?
Oh, I don't know. What was really helpful too was that the more I became aware of my patterns, the more I got to the point where I didn't want to be in that same pattern. I felt I was doing it over and over and over again. And what I found was that because I became more aware of them, I noticed and saw them more often. And it got me to the point where I was just sort of like, I can't deal with this pattern. Like, it really was basically like that. I became like, what's the word? Beyond bothered. It was like, then, because I could see it. And I would almost like parallel would be like, I'm going through this, I'm doing this again. I'm doing this again. And I'd be like conscious and aware that I was doing it, but then kept doing it. And that was kind of what I started to notice. And then using the tools, the writing tools that we were given, to just write it out and then just really recognize it and pick it apart and figure out, kind of where the source or the seed of it really was. And not as an excuse, but more as like, okay, so this is where it's from. And this really was helpful to pick it apart and find out, what the cycle was that I was in. And now sometimes I still trip and I'm in it again, but then, but I know I can pull myself back out. I have that, power, not control. There's nothing about control. It says everything that I have the power to be able to do that, to step out of it, and recognize it. And when I recognize it, I can be honest if I'm with someone else and I'd be like, I'm in this pattern again, and just really kind of like start again. And for me, it's a big deal because I spent most of my life fully unaware of what was going on. I thought I was just living, and I was like, why does this always happen? And then I realized it was like, I keep doing it. So that was kind of how it went.
It takes a lot of self-awareness. Yeah, a lot of self-awareness. So can you talk a little bit about what you are, so we're all, and by the way, the sound is better. Thank you, Heidi, for checking on that. So we're all, many people are saying, they feel like they're here to do something, to share something, to be of service, to, step into their purpose. And when we do that, it is just like freedom. It just feels so good. We feel like we're in the flow. So can you talk a little bit about what you are doing and planning to do? And you did a breathwork workshop already for one of the communities I facilitate, which was really wonderful. But can you talk about how you feel like you're called to be of service and how that looks for others? And
Sure. Without divulging too much, I've made a lot of errors and mistakes in my own personal life. And knowing that, I feel that I have something where I can listen to, I don't know, I just feel that if someone has something to say to me, that they know that they can say it, no matter what it is.
Because you get it too, right? You get it.
Yeah.
You can empathize. You've been there, right? Yes.
Yeah. So, and just and being a mirror and not having just a mirror, and that's it. The breath work that I do, or the breath work that I've been taught and now still learning, is a source and a tool to kind of go to that point where you feel that openness, so you can start really letting go and speaking, and speak about things that you need, or want to change, or want to continue to have in your world.
Yeah.
Breathwork is what I have found, is so many different layers of a human being.
Yeah.
there's the spirit, there's the biological piece, which is the breath and how it works, but then there's the spiritual piece, and there's also the emotional piece of breath work, to break through those levels and layers of a person. Um, and that's kind of how I fell into it and found it to be helpful for myself, and finding an artistic piece to it, which has been really wonderful, because this is kind of how I fell into it and how I really enjoyed it. So that sometimes words aren't always how I can fully express myself. So typically, words sometimes have rules, and sometimes with art, there's less rules and more just flow. And so what I did with creative breath, and thank you, Rachel, for that piece too, was that creative breath for me, and what I've been doing, has you do a breathwork session, or you do a portion of breathwork, and then while you breathe, you start developing an artistic expression, which is either by paint, coloring, or whatever. And it has no rules, so it has no outcome. It's just you're flowing with the pigment or color that you're using. And it's just another way to move energy from the body out of inside to out, if it needs to go that way. So that's what has been going on there. That and it's just another piece of just everything that I did for my own healing. It's just another tool. There's so many. This is the one that I really resonate with. So that's just been what's been going on there.
And you also are learning a few other things, yoga nidra, and you have background in Ayurvedic medicine, I guess you would call it, right? Which is so cool.
So a piece of what I'm offering right now is yoga nidra, and it's just a really lovely other way to drop in to the body and I say spirit, anyone has their own way or term, but and it's a very similar practice, but it's without breath. I think that's kind of what I have gravitated to for a practice, is going through the layers of the human and the person. And yoga nidra is another piece. So that's what I'm currently offering. And and Ayurvedic medicine has been something that I've been doing for some time. It's more been a personal practice, just for, again, all of it has been for personal reasons. All of these things that I've been doing had no real intention of becoming a business. It was all just to get better.
Yes, that's how it works.
Everything I did was just to get better. I really needed to get better. I wanted to get better. I wanted to know myself. And it's taken a long time. But, and part of that, now I'm at a point too where I'm feeling well enough and ready that I can offer it to somebody else.
So amazing. And that's what we were talking before this. And I was saying to Brett that what she shares here, what you're sharing here, is there's somebody out there listening to this that might be thinking, well, if Brett can do it, then I can too. And what's so beautiful about what we're each kind of stepping into and being called is, we each have our own vibrational, really vibration of, unique gifts that we've had in many past lives, that we're, we all come into each life just forgetting who we are. And we go through this process of disconnection from who we are and from source energy. And that causes so much pain. And so what a lot of us are doing, and I know you understand this, and a lot of us do, that is, how do we reconnect and heal? And then, and like you said, going through what you did for yourself, is, I see this over and over again with people, and I experience it myself too, is, that's, you understand what helped you, and then you can, and you learn some new tools in the program with me, but it's like, and you have this beautiful kind of merger of things like the writing tools, there's the Akashic Records, right? And then there's some of the, the business marketing stuff that's, I like to say, more 5D from a spiritual approach. But what comes out, what happens is you bring all that in, and you have brought all that in, and then it comes out in this magical way that is a very unique way, different than mine, but that you have that, that, and there's probably people listening here now who are just curious and drawn to you because of that sort of, the vibration you're giving off. So it's a beautiful experience to kind of go through that. Um, so, I mean, what are you planning on? Are you thinking of like, what are kind of the next steps? And what are you thinking, like this, how might this take form in terms of, I know we talked about this, but can you share it here, like in terms of how this
Yeah.
might look for what you're offering to others?
Yeah, and I do want to say too, the Akashic Records were brilliant in the process. Also, I do have to say that as a piece, and for me, what that was about was just being reminded, okay, I'm just keep following that little breadcrumb. I'm on the right track, or just knowing that everything was going to be all right,
Yeah.
or whatever I'm working through and whatever lesson I had to learn, or I am to learning it, and then just to keep moving forward. What this program did do was help me tap into more and more of an intuitive side of myself that I didn't know existed. I thought, honestly, for a long time ago, I would listen to somebody, but I was like, I can't do that. I would always look for somebody else to help me. And a piece of all of this was understanding there's a lot of self-sufficiency here. We are all very self-sufficient human beings. And I didn't think I was. And that was a big piece of it. I didn't think I could do any of this. And having my own business. And that is slowly merging and moving forward, I am a parent and I have other things going on, but what I can say currently, the breathwork is a big tool and a big piece of what I do. However, I know it's just the center of it, and the development is, my hope is just whomever comes to see me or anyone that does what I do. And the hope is that there's safety, there's care, and there's a capsulated place for someone to get better. And that is what it is. And I feel Ayurveda, breathwork, and along with these tools, it's so interesting how these three pieces are so important in a way. Because they all are a piece of the process. Not just one. There's not just one thing that is the only thing that helps somebody.
Right. Yeah.
And a big piece of Ayurvedic medicine is a little bit of everything. Can be medicine, but a little bit of everything can be poison. So the piece with Ayurvedic medicine is that you can utilize all of these in a way that most benefits the one human being. Because it was not the same for everyone. So I joke around that I know a lot and I'm not really good at one thing. However, what I know is that it takes so many things to help one person because everyone's so unique. And part of Ayurvedic medicine is that we are all made up of different elements and a little more of one versus another. And because of that, the process of healing is different for each person. So part of the science is to recognize that and see that in another person, and to use the tools that we've learned with all of this to help them move forward. And sometimes all it does really take is the nitty gritty writing down, what is this, what is that, and why is it so? Sometimes that person needs, we all need that from time to time. We need it in black and white. So there's the ethereal piece, there's all of that, which is wonderful. And then we trickle down to that, it's the nuts and bolts or the writing down, or there's just the really like looking at something for what it really is.
And having somebody else to pull that out, right? To talk with you about it is, it can be, because it's hard to see, like that's what the writing does, right? And it's hard to see what's happening when we're in it until sometimes we have somebody that's a mirror for us that can kind of help us see that our thoughts are just negative ego stuff. It's not really who we are, or help us. And the writing kind of does that too, right?
Yeah. And just having an environment that's just truly accepting and kind to whatever comes up.
Yeah.
And that's piece of it. And the breath the breath is actually a really great tool just to kind of like get the body just to relax a little bit more, to feel a little less,
Yes.
you know,
To feel
restricted.
safe too, right? Because I think, we talked about this before. I mean, I think we talked about before I hit record, before we went
Mhm,
live, is that it's scary for people to do the inner work, and
mhm.
there's a part of our ego that will fight doing this, because it's like the ego wants to keep us in what's familiar, what's known, even if it's not really working, right? It's a familiar pattern. And so
Mhm.
just saying yes to doing the inner work for yourself. And,
Yeah.
you've seen this, I know, with, people you've supported. Um, it's scary. It's
Mm.
not easy to even just step into that. Um,
Mhm.
so I was saying, like, deep bow to you for doing
Oh,
this, and to
thank
others in
you.
this program, who because it takes a lot of courage to do that. And I love what you said too about, like, the Ayurvedic medicine, approaching it from, it's not just one thing. I totally am a believer of that too. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah, go ahead.
oh no, and I want to recognize too that, in those moments of discomfort, and sometimes it feels so pressurized,
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
in those moments, and I can certainly say, and they don't always go away. Like, and I've had many moments of feeling like, oh, this is a really pressurized moment, and
Yeah.
really like um feeling it. And what's really wonderful about this program too is that there's support systems there too. So if you find that moment, or those
Mm.
moments you feel pressurized, there's someone that can just like
Mhm.
keep going, keep going,
Mhm.
because it really is that ego
Yeah.
trying to keep you in that one
Yeah.
space, one plot.
We had a
Uh,
wonderful group this year, just a really beautiful group of women supporting each other.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and then there's relief on the other side too, as you realize when you get to the other side, you do feel a lot better.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's what it is. So
Yeah. I think,
yeah.
I also love what you said about, connecting to your intuition and to trusting yourself. That makes me so happy to hear, because it's
Yeah.
so important that, that we as humans, you and all of us, that we know that we have the ability within ourselves, that we're not giving our power away to somebody else, to say, there's nothing wrong with getting an intuitive reading to get, check in. And
Mhm,
I'm obviously, I do those readings, but
mhm,
when we're, always going to somebody else to say, tell me what I'm supposed to be doing, because we don't feel like we can trust ourselves enough to receive the only information for ourselves, then, that we're kind of always looking outside ourselves. And it makes me so glad to hear you say that you've developed that connection for yourself, in the Akashic Records. Is such a nice container to receive that. Um, and I'm sure, you have seen how, when we connect to our intuition, to our higher self, whatever it is, spirit guides, angels, the Akashic Records, God, whatever it is, that it's like we have this team of therapists and life coaches, like, in our head, that
mhm,
can kind of help us, guide us. It's like, is this right? No, 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 maybe that, no, does that feel right? No, or kind of keep us on the path. And that
mhm.
is everything, really. It's everything for life. And once you
Yeah.
have that, right, it's like, then you have that source of comfort and love,
Mhm.
that we're never alone. And it's so powerful, so important.
Yeah, it really is. And what was really wonderful to start is to understand is that I would even freeze in moments of just daily living, like daily decision making, or even adult decision making at work or whatever. It really was like
Yeah.
the simplest things for some people, but for
Hmm.
me, I really needed to develop that inner knowing or understanding that I knew what I needed in the moment,
Hmm.
instead of after the fact.
Hmm.
um, a day
Yeah.
later or whatever,
Yeah.
or whenever that thought would occur. So it really is like that whole like knowing in the moment and knowing when things are moving.
Hmm. Hmm. Heidi's saying she's been there with this work. She's saying she knows. I saw something pop up.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, and I'm gonna reference this little, like, it's a short video that I've mentioned to you before we went live, but there's this video of this guy. he's like a performance artist walking up this stairway to success, and the title says success is not a straight path. And so he walks up and then he falls down. He falls in this trampoline. He keeps getting back up on the stairs, and he goes up and he falls down again, and he's getting higher, and he keeps falling down, and then he almost gets to the top, and then he falls down over and over and over, and then he gets back up and he goes to the top, and then he falls down so many times that he's so he can barely, you think he may even never get it back up again. He's like only on the trampoline, but then he balances up, and it's just like the number of time, that's reality. Like sometimes we see, within life, that things are just, you just get better, and all of a sudden you're going, straight, like, with on the road to recovery. And I'm familiar with this. I have some family members who've gone through those relapses. Like, you relapse, and then if you think like, well, I'm just gonna never get better, I'm just gonna always lie down on that trampoline, then what's the point? But if like we start to normalize that this is actually part of the path. Part of the path is stumbling and falling down, and I think that kind of gives people permission, like to be like, it's okay to feel like we're completely not on our path, but really we are, because we've learned so much, and we, like you said, we have tools now that that can help us, lift ourselves up and keep going and get to the top of that staircase, right? It's such a cool video. It's really, really beautiful. I showed it to my kids too, and they really, Heidi says it can bring you to your knees. Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
So, I mean, I just want to give again, like, a shout out to you for showing up doing this video, which is a big deal, right? To even show up here and talk live on Facebook. It's a big step. So, how can people find you if they want to, connect with you for breath work or Ayurvedic work or, yoga nidra? How can they find you?
Yeah, currently I just have a email. My website is in the making, so it's all lowercase. Brett, BRETT, .seedthespirit@gmail.
Awesome. Let me type that in here. Brett. Yeah. And that's the name of your business, right?
Yeah.
Seed the Spirit. Yeah. Wait, Brett.seedthespirit. At Gmail. And so I love Seed the Spirit. Can you share a little bit how you chose that name for your business?
Yeah.
Real quick. I just love this story.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what I did. Why? Because it's been such a long time since I've even thought. Well, I originally had another business with the word seed in it, and it just takes one little. Right. It just takes one little seed, right? So, okay. So I learned long ago that, okay, so you could have a 8x8 small little thing of seedlings, right? Like, really, like, if you forget to water them, that's like 20 plants. So if you think about 20 seeds in this little teeny box with soil, and you miss one, you miss two, or you miss the whole thing, like there's probably like a full table of these seedlings and you miss a whole corner, that's 20 potential plants that we didn't take care of, that have that potential of growing. And that's kind of how I feel like, our spirits can sometimes become very dull and quiet, and and if we just have that little bit of a seed of like, you actually can do this, just that little seed. It doesn't take and you just every day a little bit of maintenance, it can become something more than you could imagine. Like it can get really big, but it takes a while. And that's how I feel about it, is that it takes a long time, and having the endurance to just continue on is essential.
Yeah. Just like a plant, like if we think, I know it. I had some calendula and marigold, and I was waiting for them to flower, and they didn't even flower until September. I grew them from seedlings, but I was like, man, when are they gonna flower? But they did eventually, and it's like, it takes time. And we water. It's like watering our spirits, giving them soil, giving them sun, they need all these things, you know, and love, and that's just like our souls, right? Our spirits. So
Yeah.
I love that. I just
Yeah.
love Seed the Spirit so much. It's such a beautiful
Thanks.
the name.
Yeah. You know, and sometimes that seed takes a long time to sprout too.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
You know,
Yep.
sometimes it has to stay in the
Yep.
soil and stay dark for a little
Right.
while.
That's such a beautiful
But
analogy. We need that's like that womb, that, you know, inner child healing and that dark womb space of Mother
yeah,
Earth, like the seed. It just needs time dormant to just be in that cocoon, which is literally what happens after we leave a traumatic lifetime. We go into the place of healing in the spirit realm before we're ready to
yeah,
keep growing.
yeah.
Man, we could talk. We could talk for so much longer. So, but for those of you
Oh,
listening, you know, if you're, thank you, Brett, by the way, for coming here and sharing. And I hope you all find Brett. Um, I got to experience breath work with her and do the creative breath. It was really beautiful, really powerful, and the others who came really enjoyed it as well. So, and so her email, I put it there. Um, and for anybody who's interested in doing this themselves, there's a new group starting in the Intuitive Guide program in January, and we're going to be going through this process, like as we shared here, of doing some sessions with me to experience this work, you know, doing some uh, writing tools to identify what are some of the ego stories and beliefs that are holding you back from stepping into your light, from becoming this, you know, your highest and best self. Hypnotherapy, past life regression is what I'm going to actually add in. That's something I didn't add in for you guys last year, even though I think we did that. You and I did that anyway, but asking people to kind of go through that to really feel, you know, clear away any blocks that are holding us back. Some of this is old stuff. It's not as childhood, it's past lives, from really stepping into our light. And so then you experience the tools that then you learn to then offer to others. And then you learn how to read the Akashic Records. You learn how to, you know, start a website, how to speak to clients that are vibrationally aligned to you. Not everybody, right? We're just connecting with those who we often are earlier versions of ourselves. And we, you know, create a sort of a vibrational uh, lighthouse beam that we're shining out to attract those people. So I hope that that if those of you who are feeling a resonance or feeling a pull, reach out to me. Let me know what you're, you know, thinking of in terms of your own gifts and how you might want to share your light, and we can see if this program is a good fit. So yes, Julie wrote Divine Sophia's Womb. Beautiful. I love that. Oh man, so this is, you know, and this is the time, right? This is when so many of us are being called. I just talked to somebody today who was a man, actually. We did a session together, who's just awakening and feeling like he wants to be of service and share his light. And it's just so amazing to see just all over people are like, they're like, I know I'm supposed to be doing something more. And how do I do that? So it's just clearing away the stuff to let us just shine brightly. Um, so for those of you who want to learn about that, go to my website, soulfulworkconsulting.com. Soulful Work Method is up there in the menu. You can find it on the homepage. So thank you so much, Brett, for coming and sharing your light and gifts and perspective. It's such an honor and a blessing. So
same.
deep
Yeah,
bow.
thank you so much. You too.
And thank you all for being here. Hope you all have a wonderful evening and happy Thanksgiving. Many blessings. Bye.